Edmonds, the director of the CAC, or Community Action Center, or Committee, which includes running a food pantry. Welcome, Sarah, and thank you for coming.
Thank you, Sandy, for having me.
Our topic today is about food insecurity in Middle Tennessee. Now, there are fortunately several food banks or pantries in Franklin County, but I am most familiar with the program that Sarah runs in Suwanee. I'm a volunteer. Tell us about your food insecurity program. I know you do other things.
We do, yes. So the Community Action Committee is a food pantry and emergency resource center. And so our main operation is the food pantry side of it all. We are open Monday through Friday for 2 hours each morning for people to come in and pick up groceries of what they need. And then on the emergency assistance side, we can also help with electric bills and rent and water bills and things like that when people are falling on hardships.
Right. How many do you serve?
In an average month right now, we are serving around 75 individual households.
Okay.
But they can come once a week and visit us, so it adds up very quickly. Where in March we had 125 total visits to our pantry.
Oh, okay. 75 families. And you're calling them recently, gone from calling them clients to neighbors.
Yes. So everyone is our neighbor. And on our form, we say neighbor signature. They're like, what's that? And we're like, that's you. You're our neighbor. That was something, it's instituted across, honestly, the food banks. So the big food banks that help us do what we do, that came from them.
Really?
To change the language.
Okay.
And to refer to our individuals as neighbors.
Calling them banks. I think really a bank is you go in and take out, and people give the food and take it out, but it's not the same people. Maybe it was meant to be that way, just hard times. And then when you got on your feet or,
And that's
whatever.
it too. We have some people who we see them every week. We have some people who just come once a month. And we have some who maybe quarterly. They're like, I'm just having a really hard time, or they're in between jobs. You're waiting for that paycheck to hit for the next job and stuff. So it's definitely like a scale of how much people need us.
Yeah, and you're not supplying them all their food.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely, that's the way I view food pantries is definitely supplemental into what they might be able to get from a grocery store or through their benefits or something like that. And so we have a small selection, but we have canned goods, we have meat and vegetables, pastries, and so we have all of those things, and people can select. And we're a client choice model, which is the model a lot of food pantries or the food banks say, you should move towards, where it gives your neighbor a little more dignity, and they get to choose.
Shop.
They get to shop. They get to choose what groceries they want and what they need for their family. So they're not just given a bag of food to take home.
Yeah.
And so we enjoy that. And a lot of our neighbors who come and visit us really enjoy it as well. Yeah.
So where do you get all this food?
Yeah, so we get all of our food from Second Harvest Food Bank out of Middle Tennessee. Second Harvest is a big national program, but they're everywhere. And so ours is centered out of Nashville, and we partner with them mainly because we are located in Franklin County. But that's like the hierarchy of food banks too. So you have the food bank, which is Second Harvest. They distribute to the food pantry, which is CAC, and then the food goes out from there to our neighbors. And so we get about a 2,000-pound order of food every month, and that is all of our canned goods and our non-perishables. Through them, though, we also partner with Kroger in Deckard, and that's how we receive our meat and some pastry donations as well. We pick up from them once a week.
Okay.
And so we're really thankful for that, and that Second Harvest set us up with that partnership to pick up from them. And then from there, it's donations. We always accept just donors bringing in food or different things that we want. And our neighbors love the miscellaneous section when they get to pick from different items, different snacks or things that aren't normal, in the normal things you see in the food pantry. So,
Somebody's cleaned out their pantry.
Exactly. And I clean out my pantry. I try to clean it, before everything goes bad. I'm like, I should clean that out and see what I can take to CAC. I try to encourage others to do that as well. Yeah.
So you're affiliated with St. Paul,
St. Mark and St. Paul.
So you have pantry Sundays.
Yes,
with
we
the
do.
congregation and the church community.
Yes, and so that started years ago. I mean, CAC has been around for 50 years. We just celebrated 50
Oh,
years
okay, that's right.
in 2024, and it's always been an outreach program of the Church of St. Mark and St. Paul, and of course it's grown in many different ways since it first started. But Pantry Sunday was one of those first things that started up, and to get the parishioners involved in donating to this program. And so the way it works now is, we advertise a list of our specific needs for that month and share it with the parish for people to bring in, and we share it to St. James Episcopal and Midway, and just out to the community as well.
Okay.
And as we share it more, we've been getting more donations, which has been really exciting to see.
And with the university, you have a relationship with the dining hall.
Yes,
Tell
we
us about
do.
that. I think
Yes.
that might be unique.
It is unique, and when I tell people about it, they are like, "What is that?" And it's one of my favorite programs too. That's how I first got involved in the organization before I even started working for them. I was a volunteer working with this program, and we call it Kitchen to Table, and it is what I call it's almost like a food waste diversion program where you are taking unused portions from the Swanee Dining Hall, and we collect them at CEC, and we turn them into new meals, essentially, like frozen meals. We call them TV dinners. And so these trays of food have never been out on the line or anything. They're just extra prepared, and they're at the dining hall, so well kept and all that. And then we take these trays that are either like a single portion or, a 3-compartment tray like you would see in the frozen food aisle where it has your protein, your starch, and your vegetable. So we pack those up and seal them and freeze them. And then people can take them out of the pantry and heat them up. You just heat them up for your normal 5 or so minutes in the microwave. And you have like unprocessed food for essentially like a home-cooked meal right there. And so a lot of our neighbors, as they've eaten those, love them. It is something we cannot hold in the pantry long enough. They go out the door. They're always like, "Do you have any more of those meals?" They want those meals, and there's enough variety, and some people might not have adequate kitchen equipment, and so having those meals is definitely a benefit. And we also distribute those to other food pantries and partners in the area as well, and so they give them out there.
And Wednesday nights,
Wednesday
we
nights.
put them together. And how many meals on an average do you think the volunteers put in the trays?
How much food?
How many
Or
meals?
How many meals? On an average Wednesday night, we pack about 150 meals.
In about half an hour.
Yes, exactly. It goes pretty quickly when you have your volunteers who know what to do.
And we're all fighting to get in on Wednesdays.
Yes, that is very true. It's it's a limit of 6 people, and everyone wants to do it.
Always filled up by the time.
But it's everyone loves to do it, and you just get to be with your community and work together. And it's really wonderful, and it's been going on. This will guess be our 5th year. It started, I think, around 2020, 2021, or first got in conversations 2 directors ago of this organization.
Okay,
So
okay.
it's been amazing that it's keep going, that the dining hall continues to want to partner with us. And this past year, we even picked up a new partner where we now receive donations from St. Andrew's Swanee School.
Oh, okay. Okay, so more.
So, yeah.
So for the, and you also partner with the students, and they volunteer
Very much
as well,
so, yes.
right,
So
in
we
the pantry and
so
this kitchen to table.
through the university, we also partner with their Office of Civic Engagement, which has their Bonner and Canale program. And so we have about 7 students a year who are through that program and help us in the
And that's
pantry.
kind of a scholarship.
Essentially, yes. So they
outreach.
they have worked really hard to be in that program and work with different nonprofits and sites around the community. And so we're thankful to have them. And they are also the reason we have our community meals once a month.
Okay.
The last Friday of each month, it's a free lunch for everybody. And they are in charge of deciding what we want to eat, doing all the shopping, all the cooking, and everything. So we have our last one this Friday, April 25th.
I know, I'm out of town, but I like to help with those too. So is there any type of assessment for your neighbors for any of these 3 things?
No, we do have a form that they'll fill out when they come in, but we always try to say that this form does not exclude them from any of our services.
Okay.
The main thing that would exclude them is, we try to have a set service area, and so if they're outside of that service area, we would encourage them to go to an organization closer
Okay.
to them.
And you don't believe you have any abuse of that system?
No, we don't. Now that we have this new intake form, we're getting all that information, and I can actually look at like a geography map grid and see
Okay.
where people are.
But does it ask income or
It does.
resources? Okay.
Yes, so it
Okay.
asks, where you live. It asks income. Do you receive SNAP? Are you on disability? Or is anyone in your household essentially on disability?
Okay.
And things like that. And all members of the household. So we're getting a more accurate number of how many people we're serving.
Okay. Do you feel like it's increasing the need?
I do.
Okay.
And it's like, I'm just not sure if it's the new system we have or the numbers, but we are seeing more people every day. When I first started at CAC 2 years ago, we maybe had an average of 15 people a week.
Really? Okay.
Really, or 15 families, a week. And now it's very much 25
Okay.
families a week.
Okay.
And depends day to day, but last Monday we had 20 families come through our door in a 2-hour period.
In a 2-hour period.
And then other days trickle, but the 25 has been the consistent marker. And I think for the amount of resources we have, we try really hard to keep up with that demand so we can
Okay.
have enough food on the shelves for everybody.
Now, you've had some cuts in, Second Harvest. Mm-hmm. The USDA has, I'm not sure do you have stats on how many thousand pounds of food
So the
cut
change
from Tennessee?
From Tennessee,
I don't know if this 700,000 pounds is,
I think that's just Second
Nashville.
Harvest in general. I think that's the middle
maybe that's for Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah, and there's a few Second Harvests in Tennessee.
Well, I know there's East Tennessee.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But there's
this one
cuts.
specific. There are cuts, yes. And so
And
this
I'm
one
not sure if that was a
specifically-
law or who cut that, if that was Doge, but they're expecting more cuts in their fiscal year 2026, which actually starts in July.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that's a federal cut led to the cancellation of the local food purchase assistant program. That would have allowed Second Harvest and I think pantries as well, or just Second Harvest.
Just Second Harvest, but that's food that goes to the pantries.
Okay.
So it does
Okay.
affect our level as well.
Well, I think people were really upset by that because it said that they couldn't purchase fresh food directly from Middle and West Tennessee farmers. Mm-hmm. So the farmers have this food that they've grown for the pantries for people in need, and they were being paid for it. It wasn't like a donation.
Correct.
So that's a loss not only for the families, but that Second Harvest feeds, but also for the local farmers. I need to investigate that more about when and why that. Well, I know why, I think.
I think we do know why. But yes, it is, and it's a big loss for the farmers when I view it.
Yes,
That, they have agreed to this program and to grow these foods specifically for the local food purchase assistance program, and
Right.
to not have that income anymore. I think that's a huge setback to them.
Yeah. You talked about this, but this is fresh protein. This is fresh food, protein, dairy, and fresh produce instead of just dry like pasta, canned and packaged food. It's hard to work in there and see that that's our offering. I mean, it's nice that we have the meals. That's really great, but
Yeah, and that's why we like to have the meals and the meat. When we have meat, it goes out very quickly.
yeah, and eggs.
And eggs, we now split them into packs of 6 to spread farther, but so everyone
really?
can get a little bit.
So everybody can get a little
because
bit.
we have like a volunteer who buys eggs for us, and then we have a lovely community member who donates some eggs from their chickens. And
Yeah.
we also have a partnership with the South Cumberland Farmers Market up in
Okay.
Suwanee, and so customers from the farmers market can donate to CAC for our produce program, and then we use those funds and pay directly through that market
Okay.
and to farmers.
Okay.
And so we like doing that too, where the farmers are getting the full amount they would as a regular customer, if a regular customer was
Okay.
purchasing.
Okay.
And things like that. And so we buy eggs from them too. One of the farmers, we have an agreement with them. And
Okay.
so he gives us what we can, It
Okay.
might be 5 dozen a week or something, but it's a little.
It's on the chickens.
Yeah, it is on the chickens.
Well, let's talk about SNAP. That's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. And this is really the second part of our show last 2 weeks ago, where we talked about the huge cuts, draconian cuts to Medicaid that is in the mix. That's something that was a plan in front of Congress, but that would just change the budgets and the healthcare across the country. But that measure also includes decreased funding of SNAP, food stamps. These cuts to Medicaid and SNAP help working class people and families. And they're proposed and working through the system to decrease our federal deficit, which I didn't check it this morning, but the other day it was $36 trillion. So just think about if you had $1,000
Right.
debt, you'd be in trouble soon. But $36 trillion is trouble. And they want to bring that down. That's great, but they're going to continue tax cuts for the wealthy top 5% of our population, which raised that deficit up about $7 trillion by the end of 2020, with the Trump administration arranging for tax cuts for the wealthy. So this had passed through Congress when we talked last, and now the senators have put a stamp on it. I think that means that Representative Scott Desjardins and Senators Blackburn and Hagerty thought these cuts to both Medicaid, SNAP, and to the working people of America voted for it. They thought that was a great idea. They're trying to pass the administration agenda of America First. That's America, not Americans. So, food for thought. Back to SNAP. It's considered the most efficient nutrition program in the United States. So it's not DOGE. It's not that it was inefficient. It was doing its job pretty well.
It's a successful program.
Medicaid does that too. Do you have neighbors on SNAP?
We do. A lower percentage than you would think, but about 35% of our current
Okay.
neighbors are on SNAP.
Okay. So because they don't qualify, or they don't
I think
want to
it's,
do it,
some
or
people might not want to do it, or be in a system of some sort, but some honestly don't qualify. It's like you
Okay.
just make a little bit more than you could, and so it's
yeah,
really
I didn't
hard.
write down the income limits, and it's determined by the month. Is it like 3
It's determined. It's like it's monthly income, and it's
family members?
It's family members, and so it's or I think it's gross annual income, but and so it depends on individual or household. Where, let's see, and it's all in relation to like the poverty threshold level of what that means.
Right.
But an individual, like the gross income, or no, this is monthly. It was like maybe 1,200.
I think it was like
around that
1,000.
number.
Yeah,
Or so.
yeah.
And so if you just make more than that, then you wouldn't qualify
Yeah,
for SNAP.
so
And
that's-
that's not a lot to cover all your when I teach these lessons, it's like when you consider how much your rent is and your electric and everything. It's like, then what's left for
Not
your
much.
food? Not much.
And medicine. I know that's
Yes.
a big issue, so too.
And so when you really break it down, it goes away very quickly, which is why places like CAC exist to help in those parts too.
Yeah. I know that, the applications based on monthly income, family size, resources. The maximum payout is $292 a month for food. Its average, the average output is $150 a month. So you get this on a credit card. They're not actually stamps anymore.
Yeah.
To use for groceries, vegetables, seeds, and plants.
Yes.
There's certainly a need for supplemental food that you're providing, as well as non-covered items like toilet paper and feminine products.
Yes.
I don't know what you do when you run out of toilet paper and don't have any money to buy those or the other as well. I bought, I bought you a bunch of toilet paper.
She bought us a big Costco load of toilet paper this morning, and it restocked our shelf. I would like to see how much is left when I go back
by the
today.
time you get back. Yeah, the word is out.
Because we let people take 2 rolls of toilet paper, but it's very hard to hold on to. That's like a number one ask.
Yeah.
Is toilet paper,
Yeah.
and diapers and feminine hygiene products, and we try to keep. We have what the old director referred to as like the little hygiene section in the grocery store. a little aisle of the shampoos
you
and
go to the store,
toothbrushes and
yeah.
all that stuff.
It's kind of behind the door.
Yes.
So, Sarah, I also wanted to talk about another program that's been cut, and that's the summer meal program. I'm not sure that the pantry is involved in this, but
No, we're not. But I worked for the summer meal program 4 years ago.
okay.
And so
okay.
I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
And at one point, CEC was a site for the summer food service program that's up on the mountain.
Okay.
But we haven't been in years past.
Well, and the reason for this is that because a lot of families get school lunch or in the school lunch program, so that's not available in the summer because there's no school.
Which is the whole point of the summer meal program.
Right, and so the government had supported a program with some sharing with the state. In 2024, Tennessee received $77 million to provide the supplemental income for school for the summer to 640,000 children. And Tennessee had to contribute $6 million for administrative costs. This December, the governor turned that money down,
Right.
thinking $6 million was duplication of services or something. But anyway, he instead decided to provide $3 million in state money for children in just 15 counties, mostly near the Mississippi and in East Tennessee. I know that we're not one of them that I know of, and Grundy is not one of them.
Yes, I did look at that list. I remember reading that, actually, and I was shocked that
Yeah,
Grundy
because
was not one of
Grundy
them.
is a distressed county, which means that it's in the bottom. Its economy is in the bottom 10% in the nation. I think Tennessee has the poorest, about 5 or 6 of the poorest counties in the United States, and the richest is Williamson County.
Oh, yes.
Let me also add that providing some relief to high grocery prices by eliminating our 4% grocery tax has not passed the state legislature, and we've done a show on that.
Okay.
It is scheduled for summer study. On our show, we talked extensively about tax breaks for multi-million-dollar corporations in $1 billion or $1.5 billion dollars. Interestingly enough, Tennessee for All, who spoke with us about the grocery tax, has documentation of this in studies. But the Republican legislature denies that this is happening. So that'll be interesting. I'm going to be talking to our representatives about that. They're not. Oh, good. We've got 5 more minutes. So why can't we feed our people? What's going on here? It's basic.
It is basic. Just that someone deserves food, water, and shelter. That's you feel like
Trouble
you're
with 2 out of 3.
Right. We are.
I think they're working on the water to
Yes.
make some changes there, so
And
that's
so-
not going to be as healthy as we have now. I think the mountain is different. I'm curious to talk with someone at a later date about a food pantry or bank in the valley.
Oh.
We don't have job opportunity on the plateau. And
Yes, we do not have as much.
right,
as-
and a lot of school teachers, a lot of people with the university maintenance staff and cooks don't make a good
Yes.
salary. We don't have housing; it's too expensive. Morton Methodist does a food bank.
They do,
as
yes. They have a monthly distribution.
We have a lot of elderly that have not had successful careers and live on just Social Security.
Right.
May have difficulties with transportation. Everybody.
Everybody has difficulties with transportation on the mountain, yes.
If the car's not working, you don't get to your job at Nissan.
Yes, and I've had many stories like that
You
where
have to go off the mountain for work.
for work, and so if they don't have a reliable vehicle, they will most likely not be hired for that job.
Right.
And so
Or if they miss a few days.
they miss a few days,
the-
then they're out.
Yeah, then they're out. And also elderly people are being taken care of at home, and many times that falls to the youngest child.
It does,
well, not a
yes.
toddler, but
But-
had a
Yes,
lot
but
of
it
teenagers
falls to a
that was their
child,
job,
yes.
was taking care of grandma.
Yes, and a lot of young children who are living with grandma or grandpa.
Right,
And
right.
so them having to kind of take care of each other.
A
almost, too,
lot
and
of
stuff.
broken families. There are dads incarcerated and women incarcerated. So again, grandparents or other people. There's a lot of stress when you have, if you don't have a stress reducer like we can have, like, oh, I've had a bad day, I'm going to get a pedicure, or I need a haircut, or I need a new outfit. They can't do that. It's just constant. I think that's constant with parents anyway.
Right. I think it is too, but it's often hard where a lot of people, they'll come to me and they're just like, I just can't catch a break. It just seems like one thing after another, and I look at them and I go, I know it does, because every time, not that they're asking for assistance or anything, but sometimes I'm just in a position to listen.
Yes.
And they can. It's never a rant, but it's just a sharing of stories
Right.
and what's going on.
Right,
And so
right.
if I can be that backboard, I'm happy to be.
Sure,
Just
sure.
to release some steam in a way where, they couldn't relieve that stress somewhere else. So maybe they could come to CAC and have those conversations too.
Do you think they know what's kind of coming with some of just the cuts that we've heard about so far?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of think there might not be as much information shared with our neighbors, as much as there should be. We've put more resources in the pantry, just so they're aware. And though our numbers have increased, no one said anything. As I'll say, we have not had those conversations or that fear that might come. I've had some people whose SNAP has been taken away or adjusted or different things, but they haven't brought up the legislation.
Those things.
Those
We
things.
had talked a little bit in the car about Maslow's hierarchy.
Yes, we did.
That
Right.
to worry about politics, or to
Right.
get a newspaper, read a newspaper,
Read a newspaper when you're just trying to put
getting
food
the
on the
Atlantic
table.
magazine or USA News, or
Right.
something like that.
And you just want dinner for your kids
Right.
and everything. It's hard to
Well,
think
and
of
there is radio that they may listen to, but
Yes, that's
radio
true.
is, I think, the most is the highest amount of misinformation.
Oh, okay. Yes.
That's and fear mongering, and I mean, as we just listened to a little bit of news this morning
Right.
about immigration, and I was like, no, I don't think that's true. So
Yeah, might
I
raise
think
an
they still
eyebrow
have
on a couple
hope,
of
a lot of
things.
hope. I think that no matter who's in charge of the country, they're left off.
I think you're right. Yes.
They're always the first to look for cutting. I mean, Medicaid has a big price tag, so
Right.
that's a target. SNAP less, I think they'd leave that alone. But and I think a lot of people don't understand what poverty looks like.
Right. And I think, and that's what even our students get too, is, they might have a perception of poverty from the towns that they're from, and then they come to Swanee and it looks very different, but it's there, and but it's hidden some, and so that's what it's like when you're at CAC. You can see people from all walks of life come
Right.
through our doors and have more understanding of what's going on.
And do you see students that need food?
I have encountered maybe one or two students that have come through our doors, and some students who are in the School of Theology at
Okay.
Swanee. But maybe 1 or 2 years ago, one of our students worked really hard to set up a on-campus student pantry. And so now there's food access on campus
Oh, good.
for students, which is
Okay.
great. And if they need more assistance, they can come see us.
Okay.
But-
I think there's some of the sororities. I think there's one that has a drive for feminine products, and another
Yes.
one that does clothing.
Yes, the Greek life really try to do different drives and get involved, and they always try to make it a competition between them of who can win. But I know one sorority specifically, like their philanthropy is Morton Memorial, and so they help out there a
okay.
lot and support them, and they support the student pantry and different things. So and we try to get, and I just had a meeting with students a couple of weeks ago trying to find more access to feminine hygiene products for CEC and what that looks like. And so we're already in talks of how organizations on campus can support this outreach program that's right here in town. So look forward to what that brings too.
Yeah, I think there might have been a bill that I think it was quickly squashed to take the tax off.
Oh, the pink tax.
I don't want to get too into that,
Right.
but I think, do you have anything else to add, Sarah?
I don't think so. I just think,
Covered a lot of
to your
bases.
neighbors. We did, which was good. And I just think, take a look around at your community and see where you can pinch in and help. And we always say, like, help your neighbors in need.
Yeah.
And see what you can do. And there are organizations out there doing this work every day all around. I mean, there are 3 or 4 up on the mountain. There are more in the valley. And we're all just working. It's like, we're not a competition because we're all trying to achieve the same mission.
Yeah,
we're just trying to provide
different
food.
neighborhoods and communities that we're working with.
Yeah.
And let your elected officials, state and federal both, know how these cuts coming to Medicaid and SNAP and the farmers and food harvest affect your family, neighbors, friends, and communities. Through the years, I've heard all kinds of terrible stories about food stamps and people buying dog food or meat for the dog or beer or candy bars. I went off on a tangent on candy bars. Nobody looks at your groceries and can tell what you're paying for what with. So we need to kind of be a little bit more, empathetic to the poor and people on food stamps. But
because that's a conversation that's happening.
Yeah, that's a conversation that's happening. But also, here are discussions on these topics we've referred to: Medicaid, SNAP, the appealing the grocery tax. This program will be on WZYX, newsradio.net, and Common Sense Matters. This show is also on Spotify or Apple Podcasts later this week. So this has been Common Sense Matters, recorded at WZYX. We thank them for their time, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. Thank you, Sarah.
Wonderful. Thank you,
All righty.
Sandy. I appreciate it.